Recognize the creative uniqueness of dyspraxia. Let's start there. Understand the power of dyspraxia. When we think about individuals, we think of genetic uniqueness, which is shared with everyone, cultural uniqueness. But then dyspraxia adds another level of uniqueness. So your dyspraxia can bring a level of uniqueness which is, pardon the pun, unique. And I also believe it can bring greater existential intelligence due to the barriers that you'll face. So the more barriers you face, the greater potential for your existential intelligence to rise. And also there's this thing of, because you've got this extra third element of uniqueness, you've got this increased creativity. So I think that's an important place to start. Understand the power of dyspraxia. Now I want to say a few more things, and I want to move now on to business. And you know, there's a misconception, right? People have this misconception because they think you start a business, you make money. But in reality, when you start a business, you've got this different equation, and that is you need money for the business, but then you also need money for yourself. So you need money for food, clothing and shelter, but then you need money for the business. So what people think it is and what it is are two different things. And I think that's a really important lesson. And it's kind of like, know what you're getting into if you embark on this journey. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the importance of habits. For me, this is what I'm on right now. I'm really on my habits because I'm wearing all these different hats. I'm wearing, the hat for work, which is, I work for a charity, but I'm also wearing the hat for working for my social enterprise. And, you're doing 32 hours in one avenue and then 32 hours in another avenue. That's a lot of hours. So you have to have your habit protocol on track. And one of the things that I'm trying to do now is that every day when I wake up, I try and train, and I have a particular rep number. I do a bit of boxing, but I really try, I really try and sustain that habit. So why do I do that habit? The reason why I do that habit is because I understand that there's a correlation between fitness and positive mental health. So if your fitness is bad, there's a likelihood that your mental health will be bad. And if your fitness is good, there's a likelihood that your mental health will be good. So I understand that. And obviously, if we're trying to have some type of work ethic, which is trying to cultivate, a 60 to 70 hour work week, we need to be functioning optimally. And there's other elements, not just training. We need to have good sleep, which is something I'm really struggling with. We need to have good diet, because there's a correlation between your diet, your physical health and your mental health. It's so important to recognize these things, because without that foundation, you're not going to be able to do the 60, 70 hours. And moving on to the next point is this whole thing about reflect to perfect. And I know what you're thinking. What is reflect to perfect? This is the way I process reflect to perfect. So every time I go through a situation, I think there's three questions: what I did well, what went wrong, and what can I improve? So say if I make a video, I'll ask those three questions. So what in this video is good? So maybe the vocals are good, maybe the visuals are good, etc. But what went wrong? Maybe the pacing was not great, and maybe predominantly the visuals were good, but maybe there were elements where the visuals could be improved. Do you know what I'm saying? Or maybe there was like a section in the video that was particularly bad, and then that leads to what can I improve? So even though the visuals were generally good, within this section the visuals could be improved, or the audio could be improved, or the script writing or the storytelling could be improved, or maybe it's the titles or the thumbnails. But you could do this in anything. You could take your job and you could ask the same question: what did I do well? What value did you bring to the client? What went wrong? Maybe there was a miscommunication with the client, and then that leads to what can be improved. So you can improve the communication with the client, to build a better relationship and to sustain that professional and economic business relationship. Okay, so this is the next part of the video. And by the way, what do you make of the animation, the whiteboard animation and the B-roll? We're always trying to give you optimum content, whether that be visually, auditory, we're always trying to give you good content. So let us know, give us feedback on what you like about it, what you don't like about it, and how it can be improved. And with that being said, let's go back to this reflective effect, because I think it's so important. So let's go back to those 3 questions. So what you did well, what went wrong, and how it can be improved. And this strategy can be applied to anything. So let's think of a job interview. So John goes for a job interview, and when he finishes the job interview, he says to himself, what went wrong, and how can it be improved? And if he applies those questions objectively, then he will increase his chances exponentially of getting a job. Now, obviously, within the context of job searching, if John is seeking feedback, it's not only the feedback of what he felt went well, he would need to get feedback from the people or person interviewing him. But we can utilize this reflective effect technique in every single aspect. Even in business, you can think, okay, I'm trying to sell a product or put out a prototype, and you put it out there in the marketplace and you go, what went well, what didn't go well, and how can we improve it? How can we make it better? And there may be a variety of answers there. It may be you need to reach better customers, or it may be that you need to utilize a different marketing strategy, or maybe you need to put together better content. But this strategy is a very effective strategy for self-development. Apologies about my voice, by the way. Yes, I know I'm struggling at the moment. Anyway, there's another question that I ask myself, and it's a question you should ask yourself, and that is, how do I provide social benefit? Now, as you probably know, if you've been watching this channel, I have a social enterprise called Neuroexpression. And Neuroexpression is about empowering neurodivergent people, neurodivergent communities, and neurodivergent artists. And we do this in a variety of ways. One of the ways we do this is through a neurodiverse friendly exhibition. And this is an exhibition that provides reasonable adjustments. Not only does it provide reasonable adjustments, it also pays neurodivergent artists. And you may be asking the question, you should pay neurodivergent artists. And I agree with you. But there's research out there that shows that there are a lot of organizations that have an expectation for neurodivergent artists to do things for free. So we're kind of making that pledge to say, no, if neurodivergent artists do things for us, they get paid for it because we value that opportunity. We value their work. A lot of people will package an opportunity as value. And I'm saying that's good, but we're going to give a payment and an opportunity and a platform. The other thing that we welcome within Neuroexpressions is feedback from people that are neurotypical, but also feedback from neurodivergent people and the neurodivergent community, because we want to better our services. And another service that we offer is facilitation. Facilitation is important because it's an opportunity to help various institutions to improve with regards to supporting people that are neurodivergent with neurodiversity. And it's an opportunity to promote awareness and to promote solutions. So I think that's another part of the social purpose. It's not just about getting paid to do a piece of work. It's about doing that piece of work well, and for that piece of work to have a positive impact, not only for the organization, but for the neurodivergent people in the organization. And when we're talking about facilitation, we're talking about a variety of things. We're talking about the awareness of neurodivergence. We're talking about how to empower people with neurodivergence. We're talking about reasonable adjustments, the Equality Act. We're talking about access to work. We're talking about the variety of learning styles. So this situation is multifaceted, but facilitation definitely falls within doing purpose-driven work. And then I have this other project, this other idea of creating the neurodiverse friendly book. And this book, initially, I have the idea of creating a prototype, which is a chapter 1. And I want to give this chapter for free. to neurodivergent people in the community to receive feedback so that we can take that prototype and we can improve it so that we can speak specifically to the neurodivergent community, and we want them to be part of this process. So for me, neuroexpression is such an important part of providing social value, and in providing social value, this has a relationship with purpose. So it's like this provides social value, but it also has a relationship with purpose. Let me make another final point. Obviously, we live in a capitalist society, and obviously when we do things, we need to make money. But the important driving force of a social enterprise is purpose. If it makes money, but it doesn't deliver purpose, then you have failed in the objective. And that's the question I ask myself. Have I provided social benefit? Obviously, we need money for things to work, and a neurodiverse exhibition is something that costs a lot of money, and people need to get paid for their time and for the services they're delivering, but it has to provide social benefit. That's the important part of the equation, and that is something that I'm constantly reminding myself about. Another thing I'm trying to remind myself about is gratitude, having gratitude. Now, there's a lot of things that we can complain about, and I complain an awful lot. But at the end of the day, there's a lot to be grateful for. For example, having a social enterprise and being able to have purpose, to try and build an organization to empower the neurodiverse community, that is a blessing. And to get funding for it, again, is a blessing, because there are other countries where you may not have that opportunity. And also we can find gratitude within our friends, we can find gratitude within our work colleagues, and we can find gratitude in simple things, someone looking and smiling and saying hello. We can acknowledge good things, and when people do good things for us, it's important to acknowledge that. And when people give us opportunities, it's important to acknowledge that also. So I like to think of gratitude as a currency, and when that currency is exchanged, it's important to acknowledge it and to appreciate it. And think of it like this: if you have no gratitude, then what type of person are you? If Sally walks around with no gratitude and is pessimistic, what does that do for her, and what does that do for society? If John is pessimistic and is constantly putting people down and has no gratitude, what does that do for him, and what does that do for society? So I would argue that gratitude is an important currency, not only for social benefit, but also for our own personal mental health. And finally, I want to return to the initial point about the uniqueness of dyspraxia. Because when we talk about uniqueness, of course, everyone is genetically unique, and everyone has their own individual relationship with culture, so that's another level of uniqueness. But having dyspraxia or being neurodivergent introduces another step or another aspect of uniqueness. And I think we should embrace this, because this is a positive thing. This can affect, in a positive way, our creativity and increase our existential intelligence, because the burdens can be blessings. And I think it's important not only to acknowledge the problems, but also to acknowledge the solutions, and also to acknowledge the blessings. Now, just a quick reference here. I'm using a new camera. If you want to know what camera that is, then the link is in the description. Now, just one more thing. So obviously I'm trying to build a neurodiverse community. I want to build a neurodiverse community of at least 10,000 people. Now, if you want to help with that, all you need to do is like and subscribe. And if you want to check out the website of Neuroexpression, if you want to check out the philosophy, the ethos, and what we're doing currently, then check the link in the description. And with that being said, thank you for listening.